rather to be making nominations for the roles of chairperson and vice chairperson.
Well, anyway, I got a little ahead of myself because obviously they had to make some other votes here yet as the EDA. But I do want to mention a couple things that I've noticed in the last few months is that when, of course, there's anything that to try to figure out how the council is to proceed, Mayor Rossbach has always in the past talked about how much there's a need for leadership. And I would say that every time he is given the opportunity of being able to provide direction and leadership to the council with regard to how to indeed go about the next step of whatever that might be, that he always looks over to staff to ask them, gee, how are we supposed to do it? And looks to them for direction. I think that's abdicating your leadership. And I think that the mayor, of course, should be the one to take the bull by the horns and say, now it's time to elect our officers. I propose this would be the method of how to do that. And is there any other suggestions from council and how they would like to perhaps modify the idea that I have? That would be one way that you could provide leadership to the council rather than looking at staff and asking them, oh, gee, gosh, how are we supposed to do this? Now, the other thing I've also noticed, too, is that the sound quality over the last few months has gotten remarkably worse with the city council meetings. And, of course, I'm not quite certain why the sound has gotten remarkably worse, but I believe that it's my feeling that the sound has gotten worse so that way they can propose why it is that they need to spend more money on the audio or why they need to cut out particular aspects of something because things have just gotten so bad. And in the past, of course, we really generally never had any problems with the sound whatsoever, and it's the same equipment today as it was only a short year ago. So let's take a look, though, and listen to how the meeting unfolds and how they go about electing their officers for the EDA.
Is there a reason that the staff could foresee as a liaison to the BEDC being a conflict of interest, either serving as the chair or the vice chair or the associate chair? That person being myself.
EDA members, I can't perceive that to be a conflict.
Okay.
I would go so far as to say I think it would be.
Now, of course, one of the things I found very interesting about that question is asking, well, gee, if I'm what Mr. Lanis, Councilmember Lanis was asking is that, you see, he is the council liaison to the Business Advisory Commission, that is the advisory commission to the EDA. So he's the council liaison to that commission. And so he's asking, well, is it a conflict if I were either the chair or the vice chair of the EDA and also still being the liaison to the commission? Well, of course, when you look at the rules and the suggestions of the League of Minnesota City, they aren't really rules, but they're good rules of guidance with regard to what does it mean to have a conflict of interest. Well, a conflict of interest generally is with regard to financial conflict and whether or not that you have some kind of a financial interest in whatever you're doing. And so this asking about whether or not there's a conflict if you happen to be the liaison to the commission and being either the chair or the vice chair of the EDA, to me seems a little misplaced. I'm not quite sure what would that conflict be. And of course the city attorney said, no, he didn't think there was any conflict, and I agree. So let's continue on.
To have
normally the mayor is the chair, but I think the liaison, certainly as vice chair, would be very appropriate. Ms. Juniman?
Well, I was going to nominate someone else for chair.
Ms. Juniman, Councilmember Juniman wanted to nominate somebody different than the mayor as the chair of the EDA. Why is that? Probably